Hey, everybody, starting a couple minutes early tonight just for fun. Hello, I am John Aravosis here in Washington, D.C. This is our daily Ukraine update. As always, we start with a few minutes of people just hanging out, introducing where you are from. And in the meantime, I will go start TikTok as well. And then we'll hang a few minutes, let people roll in, and then we'll get going. So looking for the first TikToker. We're notifying viewers. Manda Bear is the first TikToker. All right, Manda, let me change my view on TikTok to do the reverse, mirror your image. There we go. Now the TikTokers can see my mask, my map. Hey, Kumar, Johnny. I'm remembering Johnny's from Wales and Kumar is in Barcelona because your name doesn't make me think Barcelona, I believe. And Leona, hello too. Nice to have multiple Facebookers here today. Excellent. Oop, I'm going to shut down some of my things on my computer so they don't interrupt with the there we go. Let me shut down a few things. Okay, this is open. Hang on. Oop, I don't need Signal open. That's going to suck bandwidth. There we go. Just wanted to shut a few things down. Northern Ireland. John, I thought you were in Wales, you said. What do you mean Northern Ireland? Did you not say you were from Wales? Or are you Wales who live in Northern Ireland? Or what's the deal? Because we had a whole discussion. I told you like Torchwood turned me on to the accents and everything. Am I crazy? It is Star Trek t-shirt day. Correct. Oh, hey, everybody on TikTok. Oh, that's the other John. Okay, you guys confuse me. As you guys know, by the way, since we're waiting a minute, usually we go a couple minutes of waiting just to get the TikTokers and the YouTubers to fill in. It takes a minute for folks to arrive. Let me get my light a little higher. And in the meantime, we ask folks just to introduce yourselves, say where you're from. It's kind of fun to see. And as always, I've got, just so you guys know, and it doesn't look weird, I've got TikTok on my iPad. And I've got YouTube. Thank you, Cami. Wasn't expecting that already. Thank you. I've got YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter on my laptop here. So that is where I will be looking back and forth. I have hot water today in my little mug, seeing if it'll help my asthma, which has been driving me insane because of all this weather in DC. And I'm thinking sipping warm water may help. Just have my chamomile, being a good Greek. I have lots of chamomile tea in the cupboard because it is what we Greeks have, chamomile. I'm suspecting, is it an Eastern European thing, chamomile? I mean, more than the rest of Europe? Because for Greeks, it's kind of like religion, chamomile. You know? Always wondered about that. Lashawn and Radoslav, good to see you. Bulgaria, I'm remembering that. Unless I'm mixing up all of your places. Canada, lovely. But European in general for chamomile? John Sarge is from Wales. Okay, there you go. There you go. I am. Tomorrow, actually, those hearings are tomorrow. That's right. I did not figure out the name of the wine. It is still pissing me off. The hearings are tomorrow night. And I was kind of thinking, guys, we're going to start in a minute. As you guys know, we wait actually usually till like 3 or 4, maybe 5 after the hour to get rolling, just so we give people enough time to be notified on TikTok. Thank you, Samantha, for that. To be notified on TikTok and notified on YouTube. So that's why we're chatting for a minute or two here, and then we will jump into the news. Well, we say chamomile is the end in Greek. You'd say chamomile. But tomorrow are the hearings, and on January 6th, the insurrection. And I am wondering, we can do a live event for it. I'm going to really want to watch it. No notification today. Of course not. Of course not. I'm going to want to watch it 8 p.m. Eastern time, but I think we can set up a live just to watch it together. I can just turn my computer around. A little bit of a pain because, like I said, you should see the setup I've got of all of the my computer, my iPad, my microphone, but I can turn. I'm going to be talking about Severodonetsk. Yep. You laugh. I've got my Windex here too, but this is not for ailments. I keep she's saying chamomile and Windex fixes everything. But I have the Windex because I use it to clean all my little lenses before we start because they get grody. Bolivia, hola, ¿qué tal? América del Sur. Conozco bastante, well, no bastante bien, pero conozco. I've been to Argentina, Colombia, and Panama, which isn't really del Sur, but nonetheless. Let me look here, guys, real quick. I'm putting on my fan to cool the room down, and then I can get started. Yeah, it's humid here today. Yeah, I think we're going to do what we did during... Sí, hablo español bastante bien. Hace muchos años que no hablo, entonces ahorita, you know, no estoy preparado de hablar sobre la política ucraniana, si se dice, pero bueno, sí, mi español es bastante bien. I'd like to practice more. Thank you. But any case, yeah, so for tomorrow night, I will set up, I think we'll do this at 6 o'clock anyway, our usual, I say 6 o'clock, meaning Eastern time, US. So this time tomorrow. And we will also, I'll set one up for 8 p.m. tomorrow, 2 hours after that we can just hang and watch the hearings if you get them wherever you are. If you're American, I don't know about if you're abroad, it's going to be getting a little late. But we can watch them together, but with the understanding that I'm going to be watching. So like I may or may not, we'll see how much talking I'm really doing because it's important to watch. So we'll do that. I'll set it up. These are the hearings. We might as well start. This is how I'll start the show, I guess. I'll explain to you guys. These are the beginning of the hearings. Política ucraniana. Ah, qué interesante. Okay, no sabía. These are the hearings that the January 6th committee in the U.S. House of Representatives are holding. This is the special committee that was set up to investigate the insurrection, the violent attack on our Capitol on January 6th of last year. And the committee has been investigating for a year and a half, and these are the first public hearings they are having starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night, Thursday night. So it's going to be a big deal. All three American networks, or all major American networks, are covering it, except Fox News is boycotting it. Fox News is literally the only American network refusing to cover the event. It's just horrific. Anyway, it honestly reminds me a lot of Russia, sadly, because it's how do you get through to people when you've got a TV network that is refusing to even give them the news? But whatever, we can talk about that tomorrow. So hello, guys, tonight. I've got a ton of news. I have got a ton of news here to give you. Just to reiterate, I'm John Aravosis. I'm here in Washington, D.C., actually doing the quick mic check for you guys on YouTube and Facebook because I turned my mic volume down a little because I thought it was loud. So just let me know, you guys, if the volume sounds like it's loud enough or even too loud. I can turn it down a bit more. Like I said, on YouTube, Facebook, let me know real quick. And I've got a lot of news for you guys. So I'm going to go through here. I even X'd out some of it because some of it I think we can just keep. It's fine. Thanks, Radoslav. Some of it we can keep for the discussion at the end. So the way I like to do this is taking maybe 20 minutes. Today might be 25. We'll see, because I think there is a lot of news. And I try to give you the news of the day about the war in Ukraine, news that I think is interesting and useful. In other words, I'm not going to tell you every story. There's an EU story that I don't think adds much to the story. I'm not going to tell you about it. So I try to cut stuff that just isn't going to tell you anything. Then afterwards, we get into our Q&A, question and answer, on TikTok, because TikTok is a pain. We no longer have the Q&A box during the lives. What we still have is the Q&A box in my profile on TikTok. And for some reason, they moved it around again yesterday because TikTok is TikTok. But I will show you TikTokers, because I think the best way is literally to show you. If you want to pose questions now, if you look at my profile, there is a red line there. And the red line shows my next live event. By the way, good for you to know. That's how you know when the next live is. And it tells you the time in your time zone. And then next to it, you see where it says Q&A, right up there, Q&A, question and answer. Touch that button and you can enter questions for me. And I will get to them during the Q&A, as many as I can. And for you all, use the chat box at the bottom, the comment box of whatever service you're using. I will get to those as well once the Q&A is done. I particularly am thankful for anybody who does the super chat or the super sticker. The super sticker is simply a way to thank me and help support my work. The super chat is a way to do it, but also ask a question. And I always promise with the super chat, I will try to put it next on my list to answer, but regardless, every super chat question will get answered every night. I always promise that. There was only one night that you guys dragged me out for an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes with super chat questions, but I stayed. I was good. I stayed. And finally, you guys. So you guys, I appreciate very much the gifts that you give as well on TikTok. When you give gifts on TikTok, you are actually helping support the creators, something I did not know, but the creators actually get diamonds or something that we can, just as Miss Mickey did in Borderline, diamonds or whatever they're called that we convert into money and it goes to our bank account. So you actually are helping the creators when you do that. In addition to, I just think it's kind of fun and nice because the topic is so serious. It's fun to kind of have goofy stuff go on. So thank you. You know, I will end with this. The other way you guys can donate if you want, because someone asked about credit card, the easiest way on TikTok is there's literally a tips button, TIPS, next to the Q&A I showed you. It just says tips. If you donate via there to me or any of the creators, it's a nice way to do it because TikTok doesn't get any of the money. 100% goes to the creator. All right, let me jump in. So I wanted to start real quick with a fundraiser we set up yesterday, guys. We've got around $1,100 we raised. I was contacted by a humanitarian aid group in Kharkiv, second largest city in Ukraine. It is a food group, I'm calling it. Thank you, Valerie, who is bringing up pancakes. Perfect timing. A group that is delivering 5,000 meals a day to Ukrainians in need in Kharkiv. As you can imagine, this city has been bombed second most after Mariupol, the city that was utterly destroyed. People are having a very hard time getting food. These groups are helping them. We have already helped this group with, I believe we gave them like $4,000 in food or more. We also gave them a similar amount of money to buy food. We bought them 2 used, this is all with your donations. We bought them 2 used cars and we actually got them from Slovakia. It was a whole deal. I should say Vlad and our friends in Ukraine got the cars from Slovakia. We donated cars to this group so they could actually so they could drive to people and give the food. Well, now they need gas. And they're having a very hard time getting gasoline. It is very expensive. There are apparently, it's almost impossible to get gasoline, petrol, as you'd call it in Europe. And what they're asking is, because they've got to go through third-party people to get gas, they're asking us if we can donate $3,500, which is around the same amount in euros, so they can do deliveries for the next 2 weeks of the food. They're having a very hard time getting the gas, and the people they're going to are charging a lot. We've already raised around $1,100, so we need another $2,400. I have got you can go on my profile on TikTok and you will see a link that says Beacons, the URL. It's literally above the Q&A box. If you click that, it'll take you, the first thing on the page you land on will give you the PayPal address to send the money to. That's our friend Vlad, who has been coordinating all of this stuff in the beginning. You can trust him. Vlad's been doing this stuff for 3 months now with us. And for you guys, if one of the mods can, on YouTube, etc., if one of the mods can put up the Beacons link Syndicate just did, that is the link that will take you to the page where the top entry is about the fundraiser. I will let it go. I just wanted to let you know this one is pretty serious. I talked to Vlad again today, and he said they're really desperate for the money. You know, can you please help? So if you can help out, I would appreciate it. And what's nice is 100% of the money will go to this food charity, Kharkovu Mir, it's called. You check it out, Kharkiv Peace. 100% of the gift goes to them. It's not tax deductible for the Americans because you're just giving a gift to people. In essence, it's a Ukrainian charity, so that doesn't really work. But 100% of the money goes to them. So thank you. All right, I will jump into the news here. So let's start with the frontline debate. Actually, moderators on TikTok, if you can explain to people again how to get to my Beacons link, or maybe even provide it, that might be nice, because I just saw somebody asking again how to donate. So maybe give them my Beacons link and you can show them how to do not do Vlad through tips. No, only do it through the PayPal address I give you, please, because otherwise it gets very confusing for taxes and everything else. I'm trying to have the money go directly to the Ukrainians and not, we used to send it via me, but I'm uncomfortable doing that. I'd rather have the money go directly to Ukraine, because that way there's not even the appearance of me touching the money. So please use the link through Beacons. Again, if one of the mods can put the Beacons link in there, I would appreciate it. And the other warning is, I had my inhaler for my asthma right before we started, and I already can tell that I'm flying. So excuse me for that. I'm sorry for that. So, all right, guys, and I can give you more. So anyway, let's talk about the fronts. Let's talk about the various fronts in the war. The I wish I could type it in here for you guys. It's let me look really quick, and then because I don't want to take too much time here. See, for you guys, it's easy. All right, I just put Vlad's PayPal on the screen for the YouTube folks. If one of the mods can type it out themselves and just make sure you spell Vlad's name correctly and enter it on the TikTok comments, then people will actually have the PayPal address to send it to directly. And that's our contact Vlad in Ukraine. That might be the easiest thing. Yes, the albuterol, which you guys call Ventolin, makes you absolutely like, whoa! It's not really high. It's not a happy feeling. It's just a super fast talking feeling. It's the regular, like I said, the regular. We call it albuterol in English. You guys call it Ventolin in French. In any case, so let's talk, guys. So Severodonetsk. Let's actually show you kind of what's going on here. All right, on the magic T-shirt map. So Eastern Ukraine, Severodonetsk is the city they've been fighting over pretty seriously the last few days. The Russians also are starting to make a move on Sloviansk, which is a little bit to the west. It's not on my map, but it's about here. And right below Sloviansk is Kramatorsk, which is another town that they're going to be going after. They really want to get their hands on the prize in the area are Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. You will hear that name again. If you're watching the news really religiously, you'll start to hear those names. The big battle right now is Severodonetsk, as we've talked about. In Severodonetsk, of the last 24 hours, it looks like the Russians, this has been kind of a weird contradiction that I'm reading in the news, okay? What Institute for Study of War, which is the big think tank that's very good here in Washington, D.C., they reported that it is unlikely that either side, Russians or Ukrainians, gained significant ground during the last 24 hours. But they also said the Russian forces have likely captured most of the city. So I'm kind of going, okay, which one is it? Did the Russians, from reading a bunch of different sources, it sounds like the Russians have captured a lot of land in the city of Severodonetsk, and they are now starting to make a push, as I said, for Sloviansk, which is just a little bit west of there. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it goes because we know the Russians have really been pushed to the max right now. They don't have a lot of troops left who are combat ready, and they're running out of tanks and things like that. So my feeling, and this is just my gut, but part of the value added I try to give you guys is my political take on this, having done politics for 30 years in DC. I think Putin has told the commanders, remember he just replaced the general again, right? So he got rid of General, the whatchamacallit, the butcher of Syria, Dvornikov. He just got fired a week ago. Putin is pissed. He doesn't like the way it's going. And I think Putin told them, so help me God, you are going to capture the whole region in the east. Remember, the whole region is called Donbass, and the two provinces, we'll call them provinces, oblasts, provinces, are Luhansk and Donetsk. Luhansk, they've got 95, 97%. They've got most of it. Donetsk, up until now, they've had about 50%. They may have more. I think Putin told them, you are going to get both of these regions, and I don't care how many of our own troops you have to kill to do it. So that's my guess, but I think Putin is just going for broke, and let's see what happens. What it does mean, which is good, is they don't have a lot of energy to do offensive actions elsewhere. Having said that, okay, so I've got Sloviansk. I mentioned Kharkiv. There's no real change. Kharkiv, the second largest city here in the Northeast, 1.5 million people. That's the city where the food charity is that we've been helping out. It's the second largest city in Ukraine. Kharkiv, the Russians were trying to come down and capture Kharkiv in the same way, remember at the beginning of the war, that they were going after Kyiv, the capital. And remember how that didn't go so well and they got pushed back. Well, Kharkiv, the same thing happened. The Russians were pushed back. They're still here kind of north of Kharkiv, right on the Russian border. Keep in mind, Kharkiv is like 15 miles from the Russian border. I mean, it's nothing, 20, what would that be, 20 kilometers, 25 kilometers? It's very close to the Russian border. They push them back to the border, and the Russians are over here as well, to the east of Kharkiv. So the Ukrainians keep trying to push them back. Not much change in the last 24 hours. The Russians have been redeploying troops, and I'm giving you a lot of the gritty detail today. I'm not going to do it every day, but I think it's a lot of interesting detail about the main war front that, again, I think is useful to you guys. Once you start going, remember, Russia wants this area in the east. They wanted this land bridge here to get them to Crimea, which is the peninsula they stole in 2014. Okay. They have now captured this land bridge. They've captured all of this area, more or less. Once you go down here, you've got Mariupol up here. We remember Mariupol, the city that they just destroyed, that the soldiers at the steel plant, Azovstal, held out for nearly, for 2.5 months? I mean, 2,000 soldiers were Ukrainian, held out against 14,000 Russians. Amazing. Then you go down further, you got Melitopol. Up here is Zaporizhia. Here's Kherson. Well, Zaporizhia, they've moved a lot of their troops from Zaporizhia. And initially the thought was that they may have moved some of them up here to Severodonetsk. But now the thinking is they've more likely moved them down here to Kherson. Kherson is down here, Mykolaiv. Kherson region they control, Mykolaiv they're trying to get. Ukrainians keep pushing back. We believe, or the experts believe, that the Russians have moved their troops from Zaporizhia to Kherson because the Ukrainians have been putting up a pretty good fight. So that's the reason I'm bringing it up, just to say it is an indicator that the Ukrainians are fighting hard. Now, the analysis is, however, that it's not clear if the Ukrainians can make significant enough gains to get the area back. The reason cited, which was a little scary, was the Ukrainian effort may stall because of a lack of tanks and infantry fighting vehicles. You remember we talked yesterday about the infantry fighting vehicles from Greece. I believe it was 200 of them that the Greeks claim are now going to be delayed for months because the Germans aren't keeping their promise. I know some of the Germans here disagree. They don't believe the story is true. I'm just telling you that's the allegation from Greece. I'm going to talk in a minute about other weapons that we're worried about not getting to Ukraine in time. Resistance. There are some updates about the resistance. I always like to explain that term because I never know whether everybody does these kind of issues like I do. The resistance are the Maquis, the French resistance in World War II. They are usually private citizens living in an occupied territory that get weapons and intelligence from, for example, the resistance in the Ukraine occupied territories would be working with Ukrainian intelligence, and they would slip them plans and say, okay, tonight we'd like you to go after this official or this office or this electrical facility, or who knows, right? Or there's a special meeting going on of the top generals. We want you to plant a bomb, whatever. And that's the resistance. And it's very secret. Nobody knows who's a member of the resistance. So that's how it works. Well, the Russians have been getting very concerned about the resistance growing in these occupied territories. Again, we're talking Zaporizhia, Kherson, which is great news. Anecdotally, Tuesday morning, and I haven't seen a picture of this yet. I want to see this video or this picture. On Tuesday morning, Ukrainian media, so that would be yesterday morning, Ukrainian media posted video of what they said was an explosion at a cafe in the city of Kherson that served as a gathering place for people collaborating with the Russian forces. Russian state media described it as an act of terror, of course, but that's the kind of stuff that resistance does. You're occupied, you find out where's the enemy meeting, and it could be things like this, like they have their regular meeting at a cafe, the collaborators do, and you blow them up. And they did. Kind of amazing. The Russians also, there are reports that Ukrainian guerrillas have been blowing up key bridges, targeting rail lines, and killing Russian soldiers who are on patrol in the area. And in Kherson, for example, things have gotten so bad or so good with the resistance that the Ukrainian Southern Command says that the Russians have authorized their own troops to shoot civilians and indiscriminately destroy any vehicles at checkpoints in Kherson because they're so worried about the resistance. So pretty much anybody outside of their home is fair game now to be shot and killed. There are tensions growing in Russia. This is an interesting story too over their war dead. This one's interesting because it tells you something about any kind of resistance they're having within Russia. One quick second for my hot water. The Kremlin has been trying to censor information about the war dead, not surprisingly. The Ukrainian, I'm going to just read you a couple of things I copied. The Ukrainian Military Intelligence Directorate, so Ukrainian military intelligence, reported that the Kremlin assigned lawyers and psychologists to convince family members, hang on, turn this off. Goodbye. To convince family members of the sunken Moskva cruiser. Remember the Moskva, the really huge ship that the Ukrainians sunk that was the pride of the Black Sea Fleet of the Ukrainians? Well, remember how we assumed like 400 people died and the Russians claimed it was nothing? Well, they've got lawyers. They involved lawyers and psychologists to convince the family members of the dead to refrain from disclosing any information regarding the deaths of their relatives. So they don't want them to tell anyone that their relatives died because they're worried about social tensions growing in the country. Ukrainian intelligence also says that the Kremlin is threatening to nullify financial, thank you, Smiling Free, is threatening to nullify financial compensation to the families of the crew members if they publicly discuss the sinking of the cruiser. So they're threatening them with money. You got to love the Russians. Everything is extortion and blackmail with these guys, which resulting in some relatives refusing to meet with the Black Sea Fleet commanders in Sevastopol in protest. So now this is an interesting story because let's see where it goes. But it was a huge deal in Afghanistan. The mothers of the dead soldiers ended up being a hugely strong movement. And it made a huge difference in the war, and it may have made a huge difference in bringing down the Soviet Union. So you don't want to discount family groups like this, especially when they're being extorted and at the same time they're protesting. That's great news. I mean, it's great. It's great on a moral level for the families, and it's also great because dissension is obviously good in terms of if you are not a fan of Russia in this war. Belarus, I'll tell you very quickly, Belarus, you may recall, is Moscow's ally in the war. Belarus is up here, and it's beyond, but just so you know, it's here. Over here is Russia. Over here is Belarus. This is why there's concern because Belarus has been doing a lot of military activities. They just, they've got the Ukrainians have intelligence that the Belarusians are training to create strike groups, like strike forces, which would be, I'm assuming, like small groups that can do like quick attacks and things. The Belarusians keep making noise as if they're going to attack here. It doesn't really make sense. I suspect they're doing it because what I explained to you guys the other day, as I showed you earlier, most of the fighting is going on Kharkiv, Severodonetsk, little Zaporizhia, a lot of Kherson. So it's going on here. The Russians would love nothing better than to force the Ukrainians to have to move troops all the way up here because they've got to worry about the stupid Belarusians and whether they're going to invade. I don't think they're worried about the Belarusians too much, but you can't have a couple thousand Belarusians invade and nobody to stop them. So the Ukrainians will have to waste troops by moving them here away from the battle where they're needed and just basically sitting on their butts waiting to see if the Belarusians do anything. That's my guess as to what's going on. I may be wrong. They may invade. But I think they're playing games just to tie up the Ukrainian troops on Putin's behalf. Now, this was an interesting story too. Moscow's chief rabbi, Pinchas Goldsmith, is in exile now in Hungary. Nobody realized he fled. He fled the country. I mean, the chief rabbi of Moscow, the top Jewish leader, fled the country because Putin's government was trying to force him to publicly speak in agreement of the war, to publicly put out a statement, saying the war was a good thing. He refused. It's clear that he feared for his family's life. He's got a wife, and I believe he's got a child or more. And they secretly fled to Hungary and are now they're literally using the term, they are in exile in Hungary. It is obviously a big public relations coup, so to speak, because as you know, Putin created this lie that one of the reasons he went into Ukraine, I'm saying Afghanistan, went into Ukraine was because Ukraine was run by Enzis. We'll call them Enzis. Thank you, Christy. So I don't run afoul of any of the filters here. And in fact, this is the way that the top Jewish leader doesn't feel safe in Russia. And frankly, as somebody who did a lot of work before on the Soviet Union, this is the Soviet Union all over again. And at the same time, it shows you just how bad my church is. Thank you, Smiling Free, the Orthodox Church, that the leader there, Kirill, is totally in Putin's pocket. There's a really bad quote from Dmitry Medvedev. As I said, I've skipped several stories, but I felt like all of these have got some significance that I think are relevant for you guys. Dmitry Medvedev was the former Russian president. Yep. And he was considered a moderate. He was the guy 20 years ago that we looked to and said, oh, this is great. This is the future of Russia. A good moderate leader, maybe even democracy, blah, blah, blah. He has turned into Putin's biggest defender. Horrific what this man has turned into. And he was asked by the media the other day why he's put out so many horrible comments about Ukraine. He's been very critical of Ukraine. Big surprise, the war. And he responded, I'm often asked why my posts are so harsh. He must mean his posts on social media. The answer is, I hate them. Listen to this. The answer is, I hate them, meaning the Ukrainians. They are bastards and degenerates. They want our Russia's death. And for as long as I live, I will do anything to make them vanish, to make them disappear. A lot of people took that to be genocidal language. I don't know what's up with Medvedev, whether he's just become a jerk or whether his family as well is being threatened. I don't know, but really messed up. This is good news. There was an 18th attack against an armed forces recruiting station in Russia, the 18th that we know of. Yet again, a Molotov cocktail. This Molotov cocktail was reportedly reportedly thrown during daytime. I mean, daytime, somebody had the nerve to go up to a recruiting center, throw a Molotov cocktail, and it was in the town of Vladivostok, which is way in the Russian Far East, kind of south. But again, there's good news that there's resistance, and I would say good news that there's resistance that's kind of thank you, C. Carosi. I don't recognize your name. Thank you for that. It's good news. It's good news. Thank you, Marcy. Remember, I've got my hot water because I think it helps me with my I've been having bad asthma lately, and I'm on all sorts of medicines and stuff, but I think the hot water helps a little bit. So forgive me for constantly taking that. Thank you, Smiling, for the train. The grain deal has fallen through, although this is probably a good thing. Russia and Turkey were negotiating on their own without Ukraine's input as to what to do about Russia's grain embargo that's stopping Ukraine from selling its grain. Now, typically, Ukraine would use the port of Odessa and this area, thank you, Grandma, for getting its grain out. Everything else has been seized by the Russians. Well, the Ukrainians have mined this area of the sea because the Russians want to take Odessa. And if the Russians take Odessa, the Ukrainians are really screwed because basically, even though this is all blue, this is not sea. This is sea. This is sea. This is land. These are other countries. This is the remaining portion of Ukraine's access to the sea. And if the Russians take this, Ukraine becomes a landlocked country, and that changes everything as far as the economics of the country, among other things, but economics especially. So the Russians and the Turks were negotiating without checking with Ukraine on, hey, maybe we could get Ukraine to get rid of the mines, and then somehow the Russians said, yeah, you'd be fine exporting your grain now. And the Ukrainians are going, why should we trust you? If we get rid of the mines, you're going to blow up our ships. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to invade Odessa because we got rid of all the mines in the sea. So the Ukrainians said, no way. The really annoying thing that I read this morning was the Turks, Putin said the only way, thank you, Grandma, that he would promise, I actually left this part out. The only way he would promise to not touch, thank you, Louis, to not touch the Ukrainian grain and to actually let it be shipped out would be if the West gets rid of all the sanctions. So unless we get rid of all the sanctions, Putin is going to starve millions of people in the Middle East and Africa. And Turkey's response to that was a legitimate offer from Russia, was the quote, that it was legitimate what the Russians were offering. Just crazy. Absolutely crazy. For some reason, the grain by land, and I don't quite understand this, but they keep talking about the grain going by land through Belarus. And I don't know why. I don't know why they're not talking about, you've got Poland over here. I'm going to forget my, I'm going to say Poland, maybe Slovakia right here. You've got Hungary, you've got Romania. So you'd think you had several countries they can go to, but for some reason, the talk keeps being Belarus, and I don't know why. All I know, very poor infrastructure, cost, okay, but for whatever reason, it's got to be by the sea, and the sea is what they're not letting people do. This is late-breaking news. Oh, God. I hate doing this, guys, but as they say, I'm just the messenger here. I'm not making this stuff. Oh, there's a report out right before I came on here that Germany will not be sending the M270 multiple launch rocket systems that it promised to Ukraine, and that the weapons now will not arrive. These are rocket systems similar to what the US and the UK are sending. Those rockets that are a big square on the back of a vehicle, in essence, and the big square can shoot, in this case, 12 rockets at a time. You've seen those things. The Germans had promised them. The Germans now say they can't get them there until winter. And they say it's because of the equipment lacks a software update that makes it possible to fire American and British missiles. Excuse me. So they're saying it needs a software update that will permit it to fire American and British missiles. So a bunch of the military folks I follow on Twitter turned around and published photos of the German machinery firing American and British missiles. They were like, you've got the machinery, it fires the missiles, we've got photos of it. So again, all I've got to say to our German friends, I don't mean to keep knocking Germany. If you are German and you're listening, contact your government and find out what's going on. That's all I can ask you, because at some point, where there's smoke, there's fire, as we say. This has been happening too much. It's happening too much. There's something going on with Scholz, unfortunately. He's putting on a very nice public face, and he's not helping. The final thing, Norway, however, is helping. Norway is sending 20 self-propelled howitzers artillery, and self-propelled is nice because, as I've explained before, when they're self-propelled, they can fire and then they can drive away, because the last thing you want is firing artillery and then the Russians use their counter artillery where they've got radar, and the Ukrainians are getting it now too. They've got radar that can look and see, like if the artillery's here and let's say it's here and it's firing, right? It goes boom. Their radar goes, oh, this is where it came from. Hit that spot. So it takes a lot longer to move regular artillery, but if it's self-propelled, it's on its own truck and you fire and you literally go, boom, get out of there. And they won't be able to hit you, or it's much harder for them to hit you. That is it. So good for the Norwegians. That is it for my news update. And like I said, I even cut stories, so I apologize for it going long. I hope you will agree those were interesting stories. I think they were worthwhile stories. So, all right, guys, we will switch to the Q&A then. I apologize if I missed some of the gifts you guys were throwing on TikTok. I was reading that quite closely. And I will, as I said, go if you can find the Q&A in my profile. Some people say it's not there. If the Q&A, thank you. I've got my Star Trek shirt on. It's actually my Star Trek in honor of Pride Month shirt. It's the subtly gay Star Trek shirt that people can wear because it's not quite gay, but it's kind of gay. But if you want, use the Q&A box in my profile on TikTok. Thank you, Allie. If you don't have the Q&A box, you can always write questions here, and I'll try to answer them, but they fly by quickly. And you guys know how it works. Actually, Daniel, thank you right there. You can do super chat questions, but you as well on the other services I'm pointing at right now can put questions in the question box, and I will try to get them like everybody else. All right, guys, I'm first going to take a super chat question. Somebody said to Pride Flag. Thank you. That's sweet of you. Danielle. Apparently the stuff Greece is proposing sending is Soviet era junk. It is Soviet era. Yeah. I didn't even know if it was T-72s. I read it was all BMPs, which would be, thank you, Smiling Free, which were, what is it? Infantry fighting vehicles. I didn't know if tanks were involved. The equipment Greece will get in exchange from Germany is good. When will Europe realize that they are next if they don't send proper arms? The real problem here is we're not even at the point in the discussion. Okay, so what Daniel's talking about, I'd reported on yesterday. The Greeks had promised to send 200 weapons to Ukraine. I had read 200 BMPs, which are infantry fighting vehicles, which are these. I don't do tours of DC. It would be fun to do tours of DC. But infantry fighting vehicles that often, to those of us who aren't military, they often look like tanks. They look like a tank that has kind of a flat top because they often have that big, the big nose. I'm calling it a nose. The big gun that the tank has, but they're not officially tanks. Daniel's saying that actually they were going to send some tanks as well. These are Soviet era tanks, so they're older, but they are typically weapons the Ukrainians have experience using because Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. So in principle, their military was trained on these weapons. What is really annoying is it's not even a debate over what kind of weapons Ukraine gets. Germany is now dragging its feet. This is a second deal Germany is allegedly or reportedly dragging its feet on. The Greeks were going to turn over equipment, 200, to the Ukrainians, and the Greeks, because they are worried about Turkey, Greece and Turkey, always bad animosity there. And there's been some upsurge in concern about fighting over the islands and their territory. The border disputes are ongoing with Turkey and Greece. So the Greeks are saying, even if it's old junk, we don't want to get rid of 200 fighting vehicles unless we get new fighting vehicles from Germany or somebody else. Germany apparently, allegedly, had said they were going to provide them, and now the Germans are dragging their feet. And Greece now said yesterday they were very angry. Greece accused Germany of screwing it up and said that they would not be able to now get the weapons to Ukraine for another 2 months. And if you remember that one thing I read to you a minute ago, for those of you who were here earlier, thank you, Grandma, for the hat. In the Kherson region, for example, down here, where there's a lot of fighting going on, Kherson, down here, a lot of fighting going on, the military analysis from, I think it was Institute for Study of War or the Brits, said not much. It is expected that the Ukrainians will not be very effective in the end because they don't have enough infantry fighting vehicles and tanks. Some of the very weapons the Greeks are sending them are going to be delayed for 2 months, and they're the very weapons the Ukrainians need to start getting some of their land back. So, but I don't know, Daniel, I don't know what's going on. The thing is, the Germany thing has happened so many times now that it makes it hard for you to think that there isn't something going on with Germany. There have been too many stories of Germany dragging its feet and Germany going back and forth and this kind of thing. And I just, I don't know. I really don't know why. It's infuriating. And Daniel's larger point is the existential nature of this war. And it is clear. And Daniel, I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm curious if you guys have thoughts on this. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, too many of our countries are terrified of Russia. And it's fine to say it's the nuclear weapons, but the Soviet Union had nuclear weapons. I believe the first, I Googled this recently, the first Soviet nuclear test was 1949, I believe. And so the Soviets have had weapons, and then the Russians after them for 70 years now. I can tell you during the Soviet years, people were worried about the nukes, but most policymakers in the US were not kowtowed by it, meaning they weren't afraid of it. They did not say, you know what, Russia has nuclear weapons, we better be nicer to them. When they invaded Afghanistan, I'm telling you, the debate in this country when the Russians invaded Afghanistan was not, hey, we're supplying the Mujahideen with those stingers that are killing Russian troops like left and right. Maybe we don't want the Mujahideen to win too much because that would be humiliating for Russia. We never said that. I mean, that's ridiculous. Whereas now, suddenly we've got this crazy thing. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's fair enough, the gas thing. I mean, John Sarge is saying it's the gas. It could be, the gas and the oil. It actually very much could be. Maybe that's it. Maybe they just think Putin would pull the gas and oil entirely, even if it would, what do we say? You cut off your nose to spite your face, we say in English, meaning you'd cut off your own nose because you're angry at your face. So in other words, Putin would be doing this to hurt Europe, but he'd be hurting himself as well if he cut off all the energy. But if he did, Europe would be in serious trouble. Maybe that's it. I do think that there's a history going back. And Biden, by the way, as I said, Biden's doing this a little bit too, not as much as the Western Europeans. Boris Johnson's been the best, excluding Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe's been amazing, of course. The Baltics and Poland have been amazing. We know that. But in terms of the military powers, okay, Boris Johnson's been amazing. Whatever you think of the man, I think the man's a rube. I wish he would comb his hair. I think it's affected and obnoxious that he doesn't comb his hair. But he's been amazing on Ukraine. Second, you've got Biden. Biden's been amazing, but Biden still has that little bit of him that doesn't want to humiliate Putin because he's afraid of World War III, and he said it repeatedly. Then you get to France, Germany, and Italy, and it's like, ugh. And it does make me feel, though, that there's also a cultural difference going on, because I would put the Americans and the Brits, as much as, when I go to England, it is clearly a different culture. And maybe we're fooled because of our language similarity, because we absolutely understand each other. The Brits and the Americans, when we talk, we totally there's no problem understanding each other at all. Maybe that gives us a false sense of connection, because I feel much more of a connection with the Brits because we all speak the same language and we're a former colony. But I feel like when you get to the continent, especially the Western countries, there's an actual different mindset, and it's not just oil and gas. It is a bit more of a, we all need to get along. And frankly, Europe has gone through hundreds of years. Canada, too. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have left Canada out, of course. Yeah, Canada, Trudeau's been great too, of course. But I wonder if it's also the centuries of war that Europe's gone through. I mean, clearly that has to affect people's mindsets and put them on edge. Thank you for the flowers, Grandma. Let me just see, because a couple of you guys had said comments here. Let me just pull up your comments in response to this. Russia plays by different rules. They don't value human life. That's unnerving. The fact that there is a debate is a serious effing problem. Europe is leading. It's embarrassing. Europe is leading. It's embarrassing. But if they're leading, that's a good thing, right? A lot of various countries' government officials have accepted money and bribes from the orcs. Maybe. It certainly could be... there's certainly lobbying involved. I think there's some corporate lobbying involved with some of the German stuff. I think so. I think Russia's a lot weaker than the Soviet Union was and more desperate. That's an interesting point. The desperation thing, that they're more worried about what they might do. Boris Johnson is doing it because it's taking attention from his internal issues. Oh, I'm sure he is. But on a policy level, it's good what he's doing. I agree with you. His motivation might be suspect. I always tell people, though, when it comes to politicians, sure, I care what they feel in their hearts, but I actually care about what they do. I told you guys this story before. There were a George Bush, the second George Bush, the son, in 2000 and whenever he was president, 2001, 2002, and he held a meeting with a bunch of gay Republicans at the White House. And he was very nice. He told them, and this is the thing the Republicans who left the meeting said. They ended up voting for Bush because they loved him. They supported his reelection, even though Bush supported every anti-gay policy that existed. And Bush wanted to amend the U.S. Constitution to ban gay marriage. But amending the U.S. Constitution, I don't know in your countries how it works. I know some of you don't have constitutions, a little different in the UK, but amending the Constitution is a huge deal in this country. It's literally like taking the founding document of our country and saying, we hate gays. The gay Republicans I talked to said, yeah, he's doing that. This takes us back to Ukraine, by the way. He's doing that, but We met with him privately, and he said, privately, my heart is with you. I'm with you. I just can't do it publicly. And I told them, F him. I don't care what he does privately. He's the president of the United States. I care what he's doing publicly. I don't care if he's trying to hurt us, but he really loves us inside. So the same thing with Boris Johnson. I don't really care why Boris Johnson's doing it. If he's, as long as he's doing the right thing, and he is doing the right thing. But I realize if you're a Brit, it's an issue you got to pay attention to. Sorry, I almost scrolled on my laptop. That was funny. My laptop, I went like this to scroll down the screen. Isn't Estonia spending almost their entire military budget on Ukraine? I don't know if it's their entire military budget, but Estonia has spent the most per GDP of anyone by far, like 5 times the amount Poland has spent, meaning the amount of money they've spent compared to the size of their economy. Estonia number 1, Poland number 2, but Poland is like 20% of what Estonia is sending. And then the rest of us are like this. I mean, you literally have like Poland, Estonia was like this much, and the rest of us were like literally this. So yes, Estonia, ridiculous amount. Based on GDP, Estonia, everyone's defending Estonia. They have been. Estonia was wonderful. German companies build a lot of tanks. German Bundeswehr doesn't have a lot of tanks. Well, and part of the tank deal, I have to say, when I had spoken to this European former defense minister right before the war started, and we were talking about all these things, and he asked me to guess how many tanks Germany had or whatever. I think it was Germany. And I had no idea. He asked me to guess on Russia. And I think I said 20,000, and he said 15,000. I said, okay. And my guess is with tanks, he may have been including infantry fighting vehicles, whatever. Germany, I think he said Germany had like 200 tanks. It was some crazy small number, but he said the problem is NATO, after the Soviet Union dissolved, NATO reevaluated and determined that the threat of Russia invading NATO by land was so diminished that they could start getting rid of their tanks and start focusing on other problems around the world, terrorism, the Middle East, things like this. So that would be part of the reason why, I mean, it's true that Europe doesn't have as many tanks as they used to have. I'm just looking here in response to my question, if you guys had any other little comments, and then I'll jump back to the nuke other questions. The gas and oil are definitely a part of it, but also people are smarter now and know their desks won't save them from a nuke. Yeah, we had that in America. We had duck and cover. I did not have this. It was right before my generation. I don't know if they did this in Europe, but we had like movies you'd watch in school in the 1950s. In the 1960s, we did not see this, but in the 1950s, it was a movie of like a classroom, and they were educational movies. And the song was duck and cover, duck, like this, and cover, go under your table to seek cover. And it was literally, there'd be a flash in the window, and a schoolroom of kids would go, oh, and then go under their desks, as if their school desks were going to protect them from a nuclear bomb going off outside the window. It was crazy. We had tornado drills when I grew up. We did not have duck and cover drills, but that was but the 1950s were a wild time. Let me see now what we got. All right, turn that off. Let me look for some of your guys' questions in the Q&A. See if you guys got any in here. Have you heard anything about Russian military training with the China military? I believe they had an exercise a week ago. Did they not? I thought it was a joint exercise. I know, John. I'm always careful about showing my age. I believe tornado drills, that was a real thing. We still do. I mean, we have tornadoes in the Midwest. But all I know is there was a training or a drill or whatever last week or two with the Chinese, and I thought they had the Russians with them. Do you think U.S. support for Ukraine will soon die down and force the U.S. government, I guess, to pull back due to the gloom of recession? You know, I'm not convinced the recession concern is going to be the problem. The U.S. has shown itself very able to fund wars when it needs to. It's more about political will, because the wars themselves don't. If you get the right people making noise, they will say, oh my God, some people are trying on the far right. They're trying to say, look at all this money being spent on Ukraine. We should be spending it on Americans. We don't have baby food, this kind of thing. The problem is the problems we're having at home, many of them are not money oriented. The lack of baby food is not a money problem. It's a supply problem. But it's a good political argument. It sounds good. We're helping the Ukrainians when we've got problems here with immigration, problems here with the economy, with gas prices, whatever. So somebody who was smart politically could use that. The argument isn't working yet. I think it's going to be a matter of if the Republican Party breaks. Currently, ironically, usually the Republican Party would be the one that would be more supportive of an effort like this. They traditionally are the party that I will say more. I'm trying to find this in a way that doesn't criticize Democrats, but more willing to use the military, less offended by using the military, believing. Thank you, Yuki. That's cute. I like that. Believing that the military can actually help in situations like this and not cause more problems. So normally Republicans would be the ones, especially when Russia's involved. Republicans traditionally would be the ones going, get those Russians, they're as bad as the Soviets. This time it's Democrats saying that. Republicans, though, have been very good, excellent actually. Mitch McConnell, the top Republican in the U.S. Senate. Our Senate is currently controlled by Democrats, but he's the top Republican. He once again made a wonderful statement this week about supporting Ukraine. Wonderful statement. But you've got Fox News being very problematic in terms of supporting Russia, many of the Fox News people, and Donald Trump. Donald Trump has already started using he has already used that argument of why are we spending this money on Ukraine when we have problems at home? And Donald Trump has a very large audience, and his audience tends to do what Donald Trump tells them to do. So there is a real threat here of Trump, especially if he runs for president, then he gets in the news all the time, ruining our support for Ukraine. I think that's possible, and it worries me. And again, it's ironic because typically that threat would not come from Republicans. That threat would come from Democrats. Democrats would be the ones who would not want to help a military, especially vis-a-vis Russia. Especially the far left. In America, the far left, we still have people on the far left who basically were sympathetic to the Soviets back in the day and still have a sympathy to Russia today. It's very annoying. But again, that used to be just the far left, and now the right is kind of liking them because Putin. The other thing, Putin, you guys know in your countries, Putin's been doing the whole I'm for Christianity, I'm against homosexuality, I'm for family values, this kind of stuff that resonates with a certain segment of the right wing, even though Putin's family values are not their family values. They think they are, but they're, Putin's family values are genocide, as we've said. Let me pull up another Q&A question. I still have not seen the Matthew McConaughey C-SPAN video. I've been dying to see that. I meant to. I'm going to write myself a note again. I kept meaning to bring it up, guys, and I did not watch it. It was incredibly moving. Apparently, he was telling stories about the children who were killed in the recent shooting in Texas, and it was really, thank you, Grandma, for that. It was apparently incredibly moving what he was talking. And I think he was also talking about the condition of these children. I mean, some of them were just, their bodies were obliterated by the gun. It was really horrific, some of these descriptions. Annette is asking or saying, is it all about the money when Ukraine doesn't close the gas pipe going through Ukraine to the rest of Europe? Russia makes a lot of money off of it. Yes, but if Ukraine were to close the gas pipe going from Russia to Europe, going through Ukraine, that would be Ukraine's own act of war against Europe, and Ukraine can't afford to alienate Europe. I mean, what do you do? I thought about that at the beginning, but I was thinking Ukraine, the only reason Ukraine's alive today is because of European and North American support. I mean, I'm not convinced Ukraine would have been able to hold out this far, even though they're insanely good. Thank you, Gary, for the bullseye. I mean, clearly the Ukrainians have blown us away with their military acumen, but I still don't know without our support if they'd be able to have gone this long. Or they would have lost a lot more territory, whatever. So if the Ukrainians were to cut off the gas going to Europe, that would be the end of your European support for Ukraine, I fear. So what do you do? But I think if I were, even I, who am very supportive of Ukraine, obviously, would advise the Ukrainians not to do that. I think that would be really, I think it would just be too dangerous politically. And again, they just can't risk, they can criticize Europe. I mean, excuse me, you've seen the Ukrainians coming out and saying the Europeans aren't doing enough and this kind of thing. But that's different than literally cutting off the gas and tanking, thank you, Flower Lady, and tanking the European economies, excuse me. Is Germany the biggest customer of gas? Are they the biggest? Well, Hungary might even be bigger. I know Hungary, at least with the oil, I think Hungary was the biggest, it was Hungary and was it Bulgaria? One of the other countries in the East that was getting kind of a crazy amount of energy from Russia, which frankly, even though Hungary's being a pain in the ass, on the energy thing, I get why they were at least more concerned. I'm not going to talk about Iran today. So far, we're trying to do most of these updates about Ukraine until, thank you, Grandma, for that, until the war calms down enough or ends that we will be, I'm glad you found us, Muriel. Let me just see here. Okay, just seeing if there were more questions here. The Czech Republic takes 63%. Is that energy overall from Russia? Is it oil? Is it gas? What is that? Or is it 63% overall of their energy from Russia? Well, this has been a longstanding problem. I mean, I remember when I was studying abroad in 1983-84 was my junior year of college, my third year of college. And for Americans now as well, but Americans back then, we had just started to do study abroad, where those of us who were a little more enlightened studied foreign languages. And for an American back in 1980, that was pretty edgy, and would go to a foreign country for 1 year of our college to study there and then come back. And I went to France. And I remember when I was there, they were having the debate about the pipeline. And some folks told me it might even be Nord Stream 1. I'm not sure. I just remember it was a huge energy pipeline coming from Europe. Reagan was against it. The Europeans wanted to have it. And from America's concern, we were very concerned that the Russians would use it to blackmail Europe. And more subtle blackmail like right now, which is, it may not be blackmail, but it's Europeans going, we don't want to piss off Putin too much because what if he cuts off the gas? So it's the possibility of blackmail was enough. I loved France. Oh no, France was wonderful. I did though. France, look, I criticize France with the stuff going on right now with Ukraine, but my year in France was wonderful. The country has issues. I mean, as an American, it can be tough, but you can really meet some lovely people. I love the language. I love the food. I love the culture. And I don't want to talk about France the whole time, but I was surprised. People in Paris, when you give them a chance, they can be lovely when you give them a chance. Because I spoke French. My French is very good. And I was shocked one-on-one the number of people over the years who would tell me, oh my God, your French is so good. Why is it so good? Oh, and they would be into talk. I mean, people at stores would be into talking to me because my French was good. And that's something you wouldn't expect in Paris. So anyway, like I said, I'm happy to criticize France for what is going on right now with Ukraine, but I won't criticize them as a country. I really, in many ways, Paris is like my second home, more than Washington, D.C. in some ways. I have much more of an affinity for Paris than I do here. All right, guys, let me see if there was another. And again, Paris may have changed, obviously. Let me just see here. Well, that's the question. I mean, who is this? Nobi Mibibid. Oh my God. Nobi Mibidat. I'm going to get your name wrong. What's the state of the Ukrainian army? Do they have enough trained soldiers to sustain the resistance and take back their territory? We're going to see. I mean, a lot of Ukrainians are dying. A lot of Russians are dying. It's a lot on both sides. That has got to be wearing the Ukrainians down. They are getting just as tired as the Russians are. The good thing is the morale is always going to be not morale always better, but potentially better on the Ukrainian side because they're fighting for their homeland and the Russians don't really know what they're fighting for. And as we said, the Russians, a lot of these are new troops, they're conscripts, they're people who came for a year just to do their military service, and they don't want to be fighting in Ukraine, right? So their heart isn't in it. That will help the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians in principle were supposed to have the weapons. I'm a little worried about that report I saw today. On the manpower front, the Ukrainians say they've got 1 million men and they're training a lot more. The thing is, I don't know to what degree the people they're training, though, are lesser trained than the current soldiers they have. You know what I mean? Just like with the Russians, the new guys won't get as much training as the old guys who have been there for a couple of years. So I don't really know beyond that. My suspicion is Ukraine will do a good job of I don't think Russia's going to be able to grab much more than it's got. Yep, 700,000. Okay, whichever, but it's up there. I don't think Russia's going to be able to grab much more than what it's got. I think Russia, absolutely, Putin has said, you are going to grab all of Donbass or I'm going to kill you people, to all of his troops and to his generals. So they are probably risking killing a lot of Russian troops by taking Donbass. But after that, I think it then becomes a guerrilla war or a war of attrition where the Ukrainians keep attacking the Russians and resistance from inside the occupied territories with support from the Ukrainians, with support from all of us, and helping. It's not terrorism. The Russians will consider it terrorism. But if I call it terrorism, that will give you a sense of the kind of things that need to be done, right? Like blowing up cafes where the collaborators are meeting, things like that. You're going to have a lot of that happening. And it could end up being like Afghanistan, where it takes a number of years and enough Russian soldiers to die, where people back home go, forget it. And actually, David just said on TikTok, Russia is now in a Vietnam type of war. That's exactly what it's going to have to turn into. It's going to have to turn into Vietnam. It's going to have to turn into Afghanistan for the Soviets in the 1980s, where they're just not winning and they keep getting killed. And frankly, America in Afghanistan and Iraq as well. After 20 years, we got tired of our soldiers getting killed and feeling like it was never getting better. And the political pressure finally said, boom, it's over. What's the interesting question, Syndicate? Let me just see here. I haven't heard anything negative. And Robert Goddard is asking if the UK is still sending what they promised in regard to weapons. I've seen nothing saying they're not. I've seen nothing negative on that. I know the UK is now going to be sending missile launchers as well, which is great. 3, but it's a start. The US is sending 4 for starters. So that's good news. But I've seen nothing negative about the UK not following through on its promises. Mike is saying Germany gets 55.6 billion meter cubed Russian natural gas, by far the biggest customer. Okay, so Germany is by far the biggest customer of Russian natural gas. Next is Italy, that gets a little less than half that. Turkey, somewhat less. France, somewhat less. So it's interesting, though. That's interesting. If you look at the troublemakers, though, Germany, Italy, Turkey, France. I mean, that's really funny because Germany, France, and Italy are the 3 troublemakers, and Turkey is the other troublemaker in general. That's very interesting. So the gas is certainly having an effect, I would think. Yeah, I think it does answer that, John. That certainly answers a lot as to why those countries are being difficult. I don't think it answers everything, but it answers a lot. Let me have a little more of my hot water. This is interesting today. We've gotten into a lot of substance on a lot of things today, actually. Thank you, Marcy. I like also that you guys have been able to provide info, because it's a little hard when you can't speak, but I've always enjoyed you guys having sort of an expertise on this stuff, or just frankly having Google in front of you that you're able to grab information. Kind of cool. What else we got here? Turkey's hurting economically and wants to negotiate to benefit itself. Turkey is clearly trying to get whatever it can get. And that's why they're playing games with NATO, with Finland and Sweden. So I'm just putting on my fan on my phone to make it a little cooler in here. But that's why Turkey is clearly playing games with the NATO thing. They want something. They claim it's about the Kurds. I'm not convinced it's about the Kurds. It might be. It may just be Erdogan knows that we need him. He's right there next to Russia. He's also right there next to the Middle East. We're never going to kick him out of NATO. And he's enough of a jerk that he can twist. Now, I had read something this morning. I was going to do a video on it and I didn't do it. Turkey, there was an interview with Erdogan in early April, right? It's June now. And the paper published the interview finally. Like, I guess they had done it, but they hadn't published it for whatever reason. And Erdogan is saying in early April that, oh yes, he's 100% for Sweden and Finland joining NATO. And he goes on repeatedly about how he's totally okay and he absolutely wants them to join and blah, 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 blah. And then to come up with his complaints after they publicly made their application was scummy as hell. It was him being a jerk and trying to play things, which is really annoying. Jennifer asked, what did I want to be when I was a kid? What did I want to be when I grew up? I wanted to be a diplomat. And the very long story short is I got into the U.S. State Department. I passed the Foreign Service exam, which is a very difficult exam here in the States. There's two parts. There's a written test and then an oral test, which is there's many parts to it, including sitting down with real diplomats and they question you. And I passed that too. I got an offer to join the U.S. Foreign Service. It was 1989. I was gay, and you weren't really allowed to be gay and have a security clearance back then. And I was terrified of telling them, so I turned them down. And it is probably my biggest regret in life because that was my dream job back then. And it's not a job you can get easily. And to this day, it pisses me off. What do you do? Oops. I heard the Wonder Dog walking around. My dog, sorry, I'm changing the topic. Anyway, it's a topic that upsets me because it's just, one of those dreams. What do you do? I'm fine. I'll manage. I'm too old now. I mean, and it would drive me crazy now. Some of those jobs, I think and I learned that, the UN is a horrible institution, but I also learned that if you're going to try working at a bureaucratic institution, go when you're young, because I think it's easier for you because when you're at the lower level, you yourself don't have to worry so much about the bureaucracy because you're low level. And I think it's easier. You learn how to do it. I did talk to somebody a couple years ago about going in, and she herself had done a very similar to me, a mid-career shift in her 50s, like I think at age 50 or something. And she hated it, absolutely hated it. She said the culture was oppressive. She had a previous job that was, I don't even want to say what her job was like in general, because I doubt there's a lot of people who go in their 50s, but she had a job that was similar to the job she was doing with the State Department. And she said she got scolded. They complained to her because at meetings, they would be discussing things about how to do things. And she'd say, at my old job, we had that problem once and we fixed it by doing this. And they got very upset and told her, you do not reference your previous jobs when you are here at the State Department. And she's like, why? It was considered rude or some crazy thing. So she's like, so I'm not supposed to bring up problems that I know from a previous thing that I can say, hey, we had that problem. Here's the solution we did. Anyway, she said she told me not to. She said, it's horrific. Do not go. So I was like, what do you do? But that's what I mean. I think a lot of institutions are that way. And frankly, if you go in as a kid, it's going to be a lot easier, a lot freaking easier. But, the UN might be okay if you're 23. As a real adult, stay the F away. Anyway, yes, that sad little tale. Thanks for getting me down there. I'm kidding. I'm not down. What else we got for questions, folks? I will try to look at some of your questions here too. If Russia fails, will Putin and his cronies be done for? And if so, will a very pro-West government rise? That was our hope when the Soviet Union fell apart. And it didn't work. I mean, Russia, I worry about Russia. I worry. Thank you, Laka, for the hat. We studied this a lot in graduate school. I studied basically international relations at Georgetown, for a lack of a better word. And I don't know. I mean, the path to democracy in these countries I don't understand well enough how to make it work, so to speak. I mean, it worked after World War II. It worked in Germany. It worked in Italy. Italy's democracy is a mess, but it's still definitely a very strong democracy, right? Even though it loses the governments, it's a democracy. It's free. Japan, great democracy, but I worry about places like Russia. I mean, I don't know. Thank you, Iggy. I worry about whether the culture holds people back sometimes from having well, I think it does in terms of the system of government they're used to having for hundreds of years. Can they switch to having a democracy and then switch to how do you also switch to a situation where you're an incredibly corrupt country and not be corrupt? How do you uncorrupt a country? I mean, I just don't even know. We have our own corruption problems here in terms of the influence of money in politics, and it's impossible to fix, right? I mean, the good thing is, and I will say this, America tends to be, okay, I want to say a very honest country. I'm not sure how else to put it, but we're not exactly at the top of the list of corruption, meaning like the lobbyists don't literally slip money to the congressman. It's not that bad. But Russia's a disaster in terms of the corruption. That's one of the reasons they're doing so bad in Ukraine is they wasted a lot of the money. A lot of the military money didn't actually go to the military. They just stole it. Oh, did one of the kittens go? Sorry. So I worry whether that kind of stuff can be fixed, Anyway, just looking here. Somebody says, I worry that if Putin is really deathly ill, that he will be fine destroying the world. I don't think so. And here's why. I think Putin wants to be the czar. Putin wants to be the best thing since sliced bread, as we say here in the States. It's an expression we have, meaning just the new wonder. Oh my God. He wants to be better than any czar they ever had. So for hundreds of years, people look back and say, the Putin presidency, when he restored Russia to its greatness, when he restored Ukraine and made it Russian again, this kind of thing, right? Putin does not want to get into a nuclear war on his deathbed, knowing that if a nuclear war happens, the United States nuclear submarines are going to destroy Russia and they're going to destroy us. And Putin's legacy will be he destroyed the world, not just the world, but he destroyed Russia. Literally, he got most of the Russians killed and destroyed their entire country. I don't think that's what he wants. As much of a jerk as he is all ego, but his ego is he wants people to look at him as the man who saved Russia, made it strong again, brought back pride. You don't do that if all of your major cities are nuked. I don't think so. So even on his deathbed, I don't see him on his deathbed. If he were literally crazy out of his mind on his deathbed, he might do it. But otherwise, on his deathbed, this guy wants to be remembered as a hero. He doesn't want to be remembered as the guy that just so yeah, I don't see him doing it in that regard. And him being like this jerk that just blows up the country. No. But you don't know who you get next. And that's a big question. Who do you get next after Putin? We don't know. We don't know. Is it one of the bad guys that was a Patrushev? I think I looked up his name, who's one of the guys on the Security Council. Is it Medvedev, who's turned into a freaking NZ? I mean, you don't necessarily get somebody better, which takes us back to the question the person asked of what happens next. Does the country get more free? I almost feel like Russia needs to have a revolution. I've always felt this, that unless you've got a real revolution, it's hard to sort of liberate countries and change their mindset. Now, Eastern Europe had real revolutions, thank God. But, in Hungary, let's see what happens. we're a little worried about that there. And even in America, we've seen how fragile democracy can be. But I almost feel like Russia has to have a revolution where the people rise up and maybe even violently overthrow their government. I mean, that you literally have a revolution and say no more. We need a democracy. We need fairness. We need to stop the corruption. I just don't know how the hell it's a very long soliloquy. I don't know how the hell you stop doing that. Oh, I saw that. Yeah, this is funny. Mia's Ware is asking thoughts on the Russian Duma and Lithuania. So the Russian parliament is, I guess, debating legislation that would no longer recognize Lithuania as an independent country. It would go back to treating Lithuania as though it's part of Russia. And, my thought on that is Lithuania is part of NATO. Russia would love to touch Lithuania, just like it would love, thank you, Crusher, to go after the Baltic states and to go after Poland and everybody else. And Russia can't touch them because they are members of NATO. So, nah, as far as I'm concerned. So if I were Lithuania, I'd literally go to the border and go, meh. Say what you want about us belonging to you. You invade us and you got nuclear war with the West. So go to hell. So, they can still mess around with Lithuania, of course. I mean, the problem is, is there any way the Russians could try to foment the same kind of fake terrorist revolution that they're doing in Eastern Ukraine, right? Where they're literally imported these terrorists basically to claim they were, Ukrainians who want to be part of Russia and this kind of crap. Could they pull that off in Eastern Europe? Like in Poland or in the Baltic states? I don't know. I thought I'd read something about some fear of them trying to do things like that in the Baltic states. I don't know. But yeah, I'm trying to read some of the questions on the screen too, in addition to the Q&A. So this works too. War between NATO and Russia won't be a nuclear one. It doesn't have to be. Thank you, Christy. But there is that risk of it escalating. Might be better if Russia didn't have to have a revolution every century. It'd be nice if Russia if it had the right revolution for starters. That last one was pretty bad. Colleen is asking Leon, but it's a good question for all of us. I wonder how Russians really feel. Are they allowed to share their thoughts, their true thoughts, or do they do their best to protect their own? We'll never know. I had an interesting experience in the Soviet Union in Moscow back in 1984. And this was the Reagan years, right? So these were and this was literally, I think I figured this out the other day with my friend Marion, and I still forget. I think the president might have been Chernenko, or the premier. And this was the time when all the Russian premiers kept dying. I think Khrushchev just died. Either Andropov just died. They had Chernenko. I think I was there for Andropov dying, and Chernenko might have been picked or might not have been picked, but I was right in the middle of it. And I'm very scary police state, and I'm on a public bus. And at least then, the Moscow buses, you're crammed in like a Japanese subway, literally crammed in with people. And all the Russians look the same. They've all got these like fur-looking coats on, these dark winter coats. They've all got thank you, Maggie, the chapka, the fur, those really cool Russian fur hats. And there is this enormously tall, attractive blonde Russian man standing behind me, holding the same pole I'm holding. And there was a pole really tall too. And I've told you guys this story before. He whispers in my ear because, again, they weren't allowed to be seen talking to foreigners. And we all reeked of being foreigners. I mean, I had a ski hat on. I had my American ski jacket that was red, white, and blue. And it wasn't red, white, and blue intentionally. Like, it wasn't the American flag. But to a Russian, it looked like the American flag. And this guy comes to my ear and goes, "Does Mr. Reagan want nuclear war?" I mean, literally, I had chills down. I was like, "Ah!" And I turned around and I was like, "Well, no." And I tried to explain, because also you feel like you're being an ambassador at that point. I tried to explain that, we don't want nuclear war, because if there were nuclear war, we would die too. Americans don't think we can win the nuclear war. Anyway, but it was very interesting. But the fact that the guy had to whisper it to me made me think about what you were saying about how, do people feel like it was creepy at first, and then it was totally cool that this guy was having, and people were just kind of looking at him, talking to the Americans on the bus. It was really, I don't even remember the rest of the conversation, but I remember that part. Does Mr. Reagan want nuclear war? That verbatim, that's what this guy said to me 40 years ago. Like, it's still in my head. Amazing. What else we got here? Oh, 7:20. Jesus Christ. I didn't know it was that late. All right, guys, I'll do another question or two, and then we'll do our hangout. I didn't realize the time flew so quickly. Tomorrow, keep in mind, I'll do my recap in a second too. Tomorrow, we've got the 6 o'clock show, our normal time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, midnight Paris. And we will do an 8 p.m. hangout of just this, but we're just going to hang out at 8 p.m. Eastern time US. That's 5 p.m. Pacific and crazy time for the rest for Paris, maybe 2 a.m. in Paris. That is when the hearings begin for the January 6th commission, which is the special commission the House of Representatives set up here in the States to investigate the insurrection, the attack on the U.S. Capitol building on January 6th of last year, trying to stop Biden from becoming president. They're going to be having public hearings on television. That will be the first hearing, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. New York time, and we're going to be watching together. So I'll set up two of these, one for our 6 o'clock to talk Ukraine and one for 8 o'clock, but we will just be hanging and chatting. I mean, I really want to watch the show, so I may not be talking to you guys. We'll see how it goes. I think it'll be fun. We did it last time for the Eurovision Song Contest, and it ended up being kind of fun. Let me do a recap really quick since it's my long recap. All right, I'm going to try to do the short recap. First of all, remember, we are doing a fundraiser right now, a very important one, raising money for gasoline, petrol, for a Ukrainian charity in Kharkiv. Again, Kharkiv, right here, 10, 15 miles from Russia. They are desperately in need of food. The charity goes around and makes food and then delivers it to people around town who don't have food. They've got 5,000 people a day they're helping. They're out of gasoline. They're having a very difficult finding gasoline in the country at all. They have to go to third parties that have the gas, which sounds really creepy to me, finding like middlemen that have diesel fuel, and they're paying a crazy price for it. So they've asked us to raise $3,500 to provide them enough. That's enough gasoline for 2 weeks. I mean, that's what their budget is. We've already raised around $1,100 from you guys. Thank you. If you can give any more, I would appreciate it. You can do it on my TikTok by going to my profile, and you'll see the link that says Beacons. Click on it, and it'll provide you with my friend Vlad's PayPal address. Only use the PayPal. I'm sorry, it's the easiest way to do it because Vlad is working directly with them. I would rather not have the money come to me. It's way too complicated for taxes and everything else. It's much safer to have the money go directly to Vlad because Vlad is collecting it for the organization. And great. Streamlabs already posted it. So you guys actually on YouTube, you've already got Vlad's PayPal right there. How to do it. Thank you. Team Vlad. Exactly. We are all Team Vlad. And as I said, on TikTok, if somebody wants to post, you want to post that same message on TikTok? Syndicate or whoever, grab that Streamlabs message and post it on TikTok. That might help people. I know, my Star Trek shirt. I love, my microphone's in the way. My Star Trek shirt. I'm a super duper Star Trek fan. That is my favorite science fiction show. I was around when the original Star Treks were on, just to give you a sense of my age. And yes, PayPal will not charge a fee if you do it as a personal transaction. So let me give you the roundup of the news. Okay, guys? Thank you, Syndicate. I appreciate that. So Syndicate has just given you, Syndicate, it gave part of it, but not Vlad's PayPal. So you see Syndicate 5515 is my friend who is posting the info. In a second, he'll post Vlad's PayPal address as well for you guys, which you can use just to give directly to 100% of it's going to the charity. Okay, rest of the news. In eastern Ukraine, the fight for Severodonetsk is going difficult. It looks like the Russians have gotten more land. Hard to say, but they've definitely gotten more land. There's a lot of fighting going on now in Sloviansk, which is right near there, and the Russians may go for Kramatorsk as well. To put it in a nutshell, I think Putin has told the troops and the generals, I want all of this, period. Stop giving me excuses about how you can't do it. I want the rest of it. He's got maybe 97% of one territory. He wants 100% of the other. He's only got 50% of the other. That's what's going on. Kharkiv, no change in the borders, but there are concerns that if they don't get tanks and infantry fighting vehicles soon, it's going to be hard for them to do anything. The resistance appears to have blown up a cafe in Kherson that was being used by the collaborators. They were having a meeting at the cafe and the resistance blew it up. So that was interesting news. The Ukrainian resistance is also, guerrillas are blowing up key bridges, targeting railway lines, and killing Russian soldiers. Let me get to the tensions of the war dead. We found out that the Kremlin is trying to censor families of soldiers who have died. They particularly went after the families of the soldiers of the, not the soldiers, of the Navy men who died on the Moskva, which was that huge ship that the Ukrainians sank with their missiles, the pride of the Black Fleet. And they sent lawyers and psychologists to try to force the families not to talk about their kids being dead. And they even threatened the family's compensation that they would get for the military dying. Syndicate, did you? It didn't post the entire thing you posted. It never posted Vlad's email, unless I missed it. But the very first one you posted cut off. If you could post that, that would be great too, just to make sure people have it. I told you about that. Belarus still causing trouble. We don't know. Keep an eye on it. Belarus is this nasty country up here in the northwest of Ukraine. They are allied with Russia. Russia's here. Belarus is here. They helped the Russians invade. We're still worried about whether Belarus might invade themselves. Let's see. Did you post the email a couple times? Okay, thank you. Thank you. I didn't see that one. I just saw the one-liner. The Dmitry Medvedev, the Russian president several years ago, who was considered a moderate, put out a statement about the Ukrainians that can be described as nothing less than genocide, which is very scary from a senior Russian leader. There was yet another Molotov cocktail attack on an armed forces recruiting station in Vladivostok. It appears to have been the 18th one in Russia to date. That's great news. Germany will not be sending the M270 multiple launch rocket systems, basically rockets, a rocket system they were going to be providing to Ukraine until much later than they promised. It now looks like it won't get there until winter. And military analysts online, I'll leave it at this, questioned the explanation Germany gave. Yeah, psychologists, exactly. That's exactly right, Waffler. And finally, but in good news, Norway is sending 20 self-propelled howitzers to Ukraine that will be used on the front line, which is great news. So that is it for my news updates. When they are not terrorist attacks, but are actually guerrilla attacks against an invading army of genocidal maniacs, they are fabulous news. All right, guys, no more news. Dobrik, hello. Hi from Kyiv. All right, TikTok, we've got a Ukrainian checking in. You know what to do. Our TikTok tradition, just in case folks don't know, whenever the Ukrainians check in, we flower them with we cascade them with sunflowers as our welcome, because the sunflower is the national flower of Ukraine. And often when we have a Russian troll, we throw sunflowers at them too, but for different reasons that might get me banned from these apps if I explain the details, so I won't do it. Somebody explained in the comments on TikTok how to actually use those icons. I had asked that too the other day and I couldn't figure it out on my own, but you should be able to, hopefully. Oops, drinking my hot water here. But yes, now is the part of the show where we switch over to hanging out. No more political talk if we can help it, but the hanging out part of the show. And literally we hang out for about 10 minutes and talk, and people have enjoyed it in the past. So we've been doing it. Just a chance to chat with some people. And hang on a second, have my hot water, which I think has been helping my chest a little bit. Anyway, so what else is going on? My Sasha has not moved yet. Mom is good. I talked to her. I talked to Mom an hour ago. I forgot what she was calling me about. Her iPad was acting up. Her iPad was updating and she got concerned because she never had that. I paused. Did it pause? I didn't pause. Oh, it did pause. I didn't pause myself. What the hell was that? Is it back? Okay, it should be back now. That was Siri. Oh, don't say the word. Am I back now? Tell me that it's back now on TikTok. I'm giving it a second because TikTok froze because that idiot SIRI turned itself on. Tell me it's not paused still. Shit, I'm going to have to go off. I don't know if I can go off and come back on. Shit. Oh, I hate TikTok for this. It paused me. If I go offline, it's not going to bring everybody back. Shit. Hold on. Let me see if I can. I'm going to see if I can put a comment here. 1 second, guys. more comment. I can. I'm sending a message to see if that works. Shit, it didn't. I'm trying to see. I don't know whether it's got me in here. I'm going to have to hang up and come back. Sorry, guys. We're having a TikTok meltdown here. Shit. Okay, so for sure it's not. Is it still paused? It's still paused. God damn it. All right. It's still frozen. All right. I'm going to have to hang up on TikTok and see if they come back. Shit. All right. Well, that's too bad. It may just start a whole new shit. That sucks. Son of a bitch. Yeah, it's ended. I know it ended. God damn it. I hate when it does that. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. Oh, I hate that. All right. Well, what do you do? We had 600 people that were hanging out. I love that when people do that. When you get like 600 people who are just, you know what? It was because of the idiot SIRI. She turned herself on for no reason. And when she turned on, she paused the entire thing. Pisses me off. Hi, guys. That was, I'm not even going to say the name. That was SIRI who thought I was talking to her. And she popped up on my iPad and froze the entire screen. Jeez. Don't tell me there's no sound. Stop that. There's got to be sound. Got to be freaking kidding me. All right, trying this again. Is the sound back? Tell me there's sound. Come on. There's still no sound. You can hear now. Okay. I had to unplug it and plug back in. There we go. Dear Lord, TikTok is hating me today. Man. Yeah, so that was SIRI on my iPad who thought I was talking to her, and she came on and turned you guys off. It was incredibly annoying, and I didn't know what the problem. But the worst part was it shows me as still, like, I can see my video stream and I can see your comments flowing by. So on my end, it totally looked like it was live. That was the really annoying thing. So that's why finally I noticed her spinning in the corner and I went, you son of a nyeh. So anyway, well, that's not bad. We got 400 people back. That's not bad. But I know I drank too much. Exactly. I poured water on the screen. Ah! Oh my God, crazy. Well, it doesn't help because TikTok is also maybe 15, 20 seconds behind. There's a lag. So like, it's always hard. And my view switched because I'm not going to change it now. We don't need it. I switched the view so that when I do my map, it's not backwards. But I'm done with the map for today, so we don't need. Mom is good. Talked to her about an hour ago or right before we started the show. She's good. Ah, oh my God. Boy, the trials of doing this stuff live. I'm doing the water because my asthma has kicked in horrifically in the last 2 weeks because of the spring like never before. And I think the hot water is helping a little bit with my chest. It's really, I mean, I went to the doctor and I'm on the strongest medicine you can take. So hopefully he gave me steroids and like Advair 500. If anybody knows the drugs, they're like the strong guys and I'm feeling better. It's just, you know, I was in DC on January 6th. It was very strange. Yeah. Richie, very strange. I mean, I was safe in my neighborhood, but it was still really creepy because you're watching this on TV and, you know, I live like a mile from the White House, but I'm a couple miles, I may be 3 miles from the US Capitol. So farther, I mean, Washington is not a very small town, but very scary though, because you're still sitting here looking, going, are they trying to overthrow my government? What are they doing? You know, thank you, John. I appreciate that. John Sarge, that is. What else? Anyway, guys, the show had ended. We're doing our hangout at the end. So I apologize if it cut off. So I started it again because it cut us off mid-sentence. But oh my God, everyone's used to having the camera flip. All right, I'll flip the camera for you again. Hold on. There we go. Now the camera's flipped. But we are done with the show. Yes, now the map, although we're not doing the show, but now the map looks okay on TikTok. We are finished with the show for tonight. This is just the part where we hang out for a few minutes and chat because a lot of people just like to hang out, which is nice. But tomorrow's show will be 6 p.m. Eastern Time US, 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, so 6 p.m. New York, and midnight Paris. I already did the recap. Not doing it again. Thank you, Ricky Ticky. Haven't seen you in a while. I don't think I've seen you in a while. Anyway, so tomorrow we'll do 6 o'clock Eastern for the show, and then we're going to do an 8 o'clock as well, 8 p.m. I'm going to put it in my profile. Hopefully they let me put 2. Let's see if they let me book 2. Thank you, Melissa. That is sweet of you. I don't know whether they let me book 2 of these at once. I'm going to try to book 2 at once so that there is then an 8 o'clock we're doing, because 8 o'clock are the congressional hearings on the insurrection, on the attempt to overthrow our government on January 6th. They're having public hearings. The first hearing is going to be tomorrow night, which is going to be a big deal, a very big deal here. So I'm going to have it on live. Sasha is being very quiet tonight. I know. I'm going to have it on live, and we can, I mean, I don't want to broadcast it here and get into trouble. So I'll be watching it on my big honkin' American TV. That is the best purchase I ever made, that thing. 55-inch TV. I had a 60-inch TV that I got rid of when I went to New York. And because it was New York and the apartments are smaller, I got a 55-inch because I was like, okay, I wanted to go, hold on. What is 55 inches in centimeters? It's 140 centimeter TV. Makes me very happy. So I love it. That TV is one of the best things I've ever bought in my entire life. And I got it relatively cheap because Amazon, if you look out for specials on Amazon, you can do very well. Interesting. Fridge full of saline. Yeah. Well, at least the hot. I found the hot is helping here. You know, the hot liquid did seem to help my chest. And I had a cup of chamomile too as well. Swipe press. I had chamomile too as well before we started, which I'm sure didn't hurt, other than the fact I'm going to be peeing all night having had a cup of tea. But what do you do? What do you do? That's the usual time that you randomly go live in the morning for coffee. If I do, Tiffany, if I do, it might be 10:30 a.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. Eastern. So that's New York time, 10:30 a.m. or 11 a.m. I haven't done it this week, but I do sometimes. It just depends. Like today, I had to go to my allergist today. So like I didn't do, if I have a day that's relatively free, and I think tomorrow's relatively free. So there's a possibility I'll come on for coffee. We'll see. Only because I get sucked into it and then I'm there for 45 minutes and I try not to, but you know, what do? You use inches for TVs in Europe. Get out of here. Oh, you got a 65? Oh, that is so cool. Like I said, I had a 60 and I loved my 60-inch, but I got rid of it to go to New York. It was starting to break down. And because it was New York, I bought a 55-inch because the apartments are smaller there. And the 55 is still fine, but honestly, I'd go bigger. I don't think they can. Oh my God. Oh, thank you from New Mexico. New Mexico, Lee, New Mexico. Appreciate that. No, thank you guys. I'm glad you like it. 65 though. Yeah, no, it's really funny. People told me, they were telling me like, oh, friends of mine in DC were like, oh, that's too big. You're not going to like it. It's too big for your room. And I'm like, first of all, it's not too big for my room, right? I mean, give me a break. One of my best friends was like, it's too big for your room. You need a small TV. And I was like, I don't care how it looks. I am not buying my TV for fashion. I am going to get the biggest freaking TV I can fit into this room that will work. And it works because also for this size, you should be around 12 or 15 feet away. And that just works where my couch is. Well, you can't see, but where my couch is now, that just works. It could be bigger, but not much bigger. Well, I mean, I don't want to be sexist and say it's a guy thing. It might be a gal thing as well. You know, I'm sure there's women who are into movies and all of that, and obviously, and TV and everything. But I admit, having a huge television it makes me so happy. That's funny. I didn't realize. Congo? Oh my God. I'd have to brush up on the Congo. Congo. 70-inch. You guys are crazy. Okay, I thought I was the only one. Oop, opening my water here. Oh God, the House bill to the Senate bill on gun control. I'd have to look it up. I'm saying I'm not up on it right now. Oh, tornado close by. That's bad. Yeah, take cover. It annoys me. I was so pissed when I was back in Chicago. I'm drinking hot water. When I was back in Chicago, we had a tornado warning. There was a tornado sighted in the next town over, and I'm at dinner with my cousins, and like the announcement is on the TV. It's pouring outside, and all of our phones go off because everyone has warnings on their phone, and the phone says tornado warning. And I grew up there. I know what you do with a tornado warning means literally a tornado is coming. A tornado watch means the weather conditions are appropriate that you could have one. Or tornado warning means it's coming your way. Everyone in the restaurant puts their phones down and just keeps eating. And I'm like sitting there, and my mom, I thought my mom heard. She didn't know. I told her afterwards, I said, Mom, I was a little creeped out that the rest of the family and the rest of the restaurant just kept eating. And she said, what do you mean there was a tornado warning? I said, yes, I told you. So yeah, sometimes tornado warnings, people don't react, and it's incredibly dangerous. So if there's a tornado warning, I mean, unless the tornado is in the wrong place, going the wrong way, I take the dog and we go downstairs. And we've been the only people, a couple times now that I've lived here, my dog and I have been the only people downstairs sitting there on the floor, and people think we're crazy. And I'm like, tornado warning. I'm not going to be up in the building. Are you crazy with my windows on the top floor? Anyway, these are things you learn growing up in the Midwest. Woo. I got a great deal on Amazon. Amazon, I will tell you guys my trick for Amazon. The trick for Amazon. Oh, hello, you. What you doing? Hi. Oh, someone's making noise because she wants her treat. Let me get her treat and do a quick little appearance of the Wonder Dog. Let me get your treat, Sash, and then you can meet the people. All right. I will get you a little treat. Oh, okay, come on. Let's go meet everybody. Come. You're okay. Oh, there you go. There you go. I've got it here. Just wait. Oh my gosh. Here, we'll raise the microphone out of the way. There she is. Oh, she's like, here, can you at least look a second? There. She's like, give me food. Give me food. Oh my gosh. There you go. Yeah? Can you at least say hi for just a quick second? I know you're going to struggle. I know you hate it when I pick you up. I know you do. I know you do. But you can say hi for a minute. See? Okay. All right. Hates being picked up. Absolutely, positively hates being. She's 12. She's 12. Still in very. Oh, she's got water. Good. Still in excellent shape. Knock on wood. But she's a small dog. They can live longer, but still, she's 12 years old. But she's a wonderful dog. I mean, loves people, loves kids, which is nice. She's a Yorkie Bichon. So a Bichon Frise mixed with a Yorkshire Terrier. So the Yorkshire Terriers are, the little ones that hunt rats, and they're very tenacious. And the Bichon Frises are just the sweetest, the sweetest thing ever. Love people. So she's a mixture of loving and wanting my attention 24 hours a day. She wants me to play with her all the time. 17. Wow. Yeah. Oh, anyway, yes, Siri kicked you. Don't make me say that word. SIRI froze my TikTok because it thought I was talking to it and I was not somehow. So that was not good. Thank you, Robert, for that. I appreciate that. Anyway. Oh man. Yeah, Sasha graces herself. She just hates being picked up. She'd much rather sit on the couch with me. She's cute though because she sleeps with me. She likes to sleep next to me. It's very cute, Except that, of course, usually she comes to bed at it's not raining. God, it's supposed to rain, but it hasn't started yet, and I don't want the dog to know because she freaks out when it rains. But she usually sleeps in her bed first, and then after I'm asleep at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., she jumps into bed with me and then sits there looking at me until I wake up and pet her. And I'm always kind of like, okay, thank you, Motek Missy. It's sweet of you. I'm always like, what are you doing? But she's got to jump in bed and sit there and look at me until I, what's up? I know, it'll be a minute, Sash. You got to wait. You got to wait. I know. Either she wants me to do her teeth or she's worried because she's figured out the weather. I think my dog can sense the weather because we're supposed to have very bad storms tonight, and she's a disaster when that happens. And I already gave her, I know, I'm still doing this. I can't, no, we can't, not right now. She wants to, oh, here we go. Now she's trying to, this is her, oh, I've got to do this. This is her, I want to play look that she's doing. You see, look at her, and the ball right behind her. I know. Sorry, the TikTok folks can see her. It's a little hard. She's a little hidden for you guys, but she's sitting here making sad noises behind me, and the ball is sitting within 2 feet of her. I know, Sasha. What do you want me to do? What? Oh my God. Now she's doing the yeah, look, see. What is it? Look, we were following her here. Oh, wait, where is this? There he is. Sasha, I can't play with you yet. I know. What do you want me to do? Oh boy. And actually playing with her helps when she freaks out about the weather, I find. So I do, I did a video with the brownie recipe, actually. I don't know where it is now, but I did a quick, hang on a second. Where is that damn thing? Did I email it to myself? I'm curious now. I know, Sash, I know. Where's hang on. I'm looking for this thing now because I did a video. This is the part where we're just hanging out. Sasha, you've got to wait. I know, just wait. Wait. Jeez. Let me go to my Gmail and look and see. Because it's on my other computer, but I don't know if I emailed it to myself. Not brownies. It's a mug is what it was. My mug cake. Shoot. Oh, I know what I can do. This is a little bit of a pain. Can I do this? I don't think I can find it. Actually, I won't be able to find it on my TikTok. TikTok makes it like impossible to find. You can't like search for your own stuff. So I have no way to actually look for my video of my mug cake. I can keep scrolling, but God only knows where this thing is because it was weeks ago that I did it. But I could show you because it's only 30 seconds long if I can find it. But I mean, can you search for actual videos? Well, let me try Aravosis mug cake. I didn't think of that. Mug cake, if I even described it. No. I must have put my Sasha, wait. There's tons of people who have done these. I think my recipe is particularly good, actually. I've got like Aravosis mug cake, but it's not pulling up my videos. It's pulling up everybody else's. You'd think since I put Aravosis filter, watch videos, liked videos. Well, within the last 7 days, no. Oh, I hate these people. All time. Yeah. Oh, this is pissing me off. This month, did I do it in the last month? Last 2 months? Let me see. Boy, there are a lot of mug cake videos on TikTok, that's for sure. But I can't find mine. All right, I'm going to look at Google here. Remember, the only reason we're doing all this crazy stuff is because I didn't put it on YouTube, and that one I should have put on YouTube. Remember, folks, we're done talking Ukraine for the night, so this is just our fun hangout. So if you're wondering why we're having ridiculous conversations about mug cake, now you know why. Okay, I've got to tell it to force it to look for Aravosis. All right. Son of a bitch, missing Aravosis. I know it's missing Aravosis. Yeah, there are so many of these damn things. I can't find it. Yeah, I mean, I've got the file on my computer. I do not have the file on the computer. I've got it. Oops, did I swear? I've got it on my, I had it on this phone and I probably deleted it once I posted it on TikTok figuring I had it. Shoot, that ticks me off though, because there's no thank you, Poppy. Need to do it again. I mean, I could do it again. It's not that hard. Actually, I did it when I was in Chicago, which means it was sometime between April 15th and like May 15th. I did do it in Chicago. Yes. Yes. I remember now. So that means it was the last 3 months. It wasn't this month. It could be this month, June, May. Yeah, let's say that this month. Of course, this month they may think is June, which would be sucky. Let's see. Maybe. I'm still looking here. This is going to annoy me. But yeah, it's got to be an easier way of finding your own videos on TikTok. You know, I may even, now you guys have me talking about this. I'm going to have to make it tonight again. It's nice because it doesn't, I'm like, you don't really have to put fat in it at all. So the only bad thing in it is the sugar, really. I'm still blown away that it's everybody. The number of people who have put mud cakes on these things, or mug cakes, is hilarious. Well, there's no way to find it. Yeah, I'd have to go all the way back to May. And I mean, good luck looking at my videos. I'll try scrolling as we talk just for a minute. May 10th. Oh, you found it? Except I don't know how to, well, I don't know how to find it on May 10th though. I'm seeing you guys are saying it's May 10th, but I'm still trying to see like how I can, well, you know, that's not true. I can scroll back to mom. Hold on. I can see, because my screen will change when I was in Chicago. It's a different background. And I can show you guys. And the one thing is I screwed up the recipe because I accidentally used baking soda, which is not, it is not an alternative to baking powder. It is absolutely not. I said it was, I knew it wasn't. I was tired. So you want to use baking powder. Here it is. Oh, I do have it. Okay. Hold on. You know what I'll do? I'll do two things. Ooh, I'm saving the video. Now we still got people on TikTok. All right. I'm saving the video and I'm going to email the video to myself because I can show you guys via my fancy schmancy screen thing. And for you guys, just type my username and cake. Yeah, for me, it was being really lousy. All right. It downloaded it. Let me email this to, one moment, but I will. That's a really good idea. I'm going to have to put it up on YouTube. I didn't. It's only 45 seconds, but I absolutely should have put it up on YouTube. It's very, very silly of me not to. But I do have to change the one part. Like I said, it's not baking. It's not baking soda. It's baking powder. All right, Aravosis mug cake, so I can find it later. I've got to use mail drop, which means that's going to take a minute. All right, while that is sending, all right, what I will do is I will first show it to the people on TikTok. Okay, well, here.
This is the best chocolate mug cake you will ever eat. 3 tablespoons flour, 2 tablespoons sugar, 1/4 teaspoon baking soda or powder,
Powder.
3 pinches of salt, a little bit of cinnamon, 1.5 tablespoons of cocoa, cooking cocoa. Mix it all together. Add 3 tablespoons milk. Put it in the microwave for maybe 30 seconds.
I microwaved it about 30 seconds. 1200 watt microwave.
Take it out, let it cool.
Sasha barking.
Get a little ice cream on top.
And that's it. Yeah, and then I go, at the end. That's it. That's it. I know, Sasha, that was Sasha barking in the background. That was very funny. All right, I'm going to see, just to show you guys too, just for fun. It's a nice recipe. It's a simple recipe, and it's one that I have found actually seems to work, which I like because they don't always work. And it's a mug cake that I think turned out pretty good. I will tell you, they add, actually, I'm going to like it in my TikTok, so maybe I can find it later. There we go. Add it to my favorites. You can add oil to it. I do not because I made a mistake once and didn't, and it was shockingly still very good. So now I don't use oil because I figure let's be healthier about it. I'm going to download this and then I'll put it under Ukraine mug cake. And now I will show you guys my mud cake on TikTok. And as I said, I lied about the baking soda. It's baking. This is the best chocolate mug cake you will ever eat. 3 tablespoons flour, 2 tablespoons sugar, 1/4 teaspoon baking soda or powder, 3 pinches of salt, a little bit of cinnamon, 1.5 tablespoons cocoa, cooking cocoa. Mix it all together. Add 3 tablespoons milk. Put it in the microwave for maybe 30 seconds if it's a 1200 watt microwave. Take it out, let it cool a couple minutes. Put a little ice cream on top. And that is it. Where are the comments? Oh, hello. Oh, he's back. Nathan's favorite people are back. What a surprise. Oh, God. These freaks. See, Nathan, you were gone for a night and they didn't come here. You're back and they came back. That's funny. But yes, I love my mug cake. It's very good. It's a very simple recipe, very easy to make, and very good. I was just showing them the mug cake, but if I talked, it would have spoken over the audio for them on YouTube. Yeah, I use that's exactly it. I'll show you the chocolate. Oops. I'll show you the chocolate I use. One sec, Sasha. I know. We'll get there. Ooh, I'll show you the other thing I'm doing just for fun. Oops. I'm using quite simply the Hershey's cocoa, but the Special Dark is better. Now, I will tell you, the Special Dark cocoa is less healthy. The healthy cocoa, I am not giving you medical or whatever advice, but the healthy cocoa that has whatever the hell it is cocoa has is the cocoa that isn't Dutch processed. Dutch processed cocoa tastes a hell of a lot better. I got it for that reason. But if you look, it says Special Dark on it. And if you look very closely, it says Special Dark, 100% cocoa, Dutch cocoa. It says underneath, Dutch. See the thing? Dutch cocoa. It's processed. It takes out that healthy stuff cocoa has in it for you, but it's really good. And I was like, if I'm making brownie things, and I'm going to put this back because if the dog were to get to this, she would die, literally. So I don't like leaving it out. Oops. Yeah. Cocoa. So it is baking cocoa. It is the unsweetened stuff. Now, the other funny thing I did today just for fun is I created this, which is 3/4 cup vodka and 6 tablespoons of coffee grounds. And I am letting them steep for a month to create coffee extract for my cooking, for my baking. Because whenever you make chocolate, it is very good. Coffee is great to accent chocolate. You don't want to do overkill, but it makes a nice thing. And I was Googling coffee extract. They don't sell it. You can find it on Amazon, but they don't sell it anywhere else. So I decided to make my own. And we're going to see how it is in a month. Every day, you kind of give it a shake. I bought good vodka. I bought it before the Russia thing started. I forget which vodka. It's Absolute, I think. I told the guy, I said, I want something that isn't disgusting because I'm using it for cooking. And we'll see. Yeah, you can make your own vanilla. I almost made my own vanilla, but here's let me show you my vanilla since we're talking cooking. So this is a excellent vanilla that you can get at Costco, which is one of the big superstores we have here. It's amazing. It's a pint. It's 16 ounces, so it's 2 cups, 473 milliliters of vanilla. I go through this in a few months. The thing that's amazing is this normally goes, thank you, Jay. This normally goes for $26 at Costco. It went up to $33 or $35 during COVID. I got it the other day for $11. It was a little under $11. It was about $10 for 16 ounces of good real vanilla extract. I mean, ridiculous amount. It's 473 milliliters. It's insane. $10 for this thing. So I have 2 in my cabinet because I was like, it's too cheap. This stuff should be $25, $30. And that's Costco's price. Costco is cheaper. Check out your Costco, because at least in Chicago, the price was, this was last month in Chicago, ridiculously cheap. This stuff was $35 during COVID. Oh my God. Don't tell me anything bad about vanilla extract. Don't you dare. Don't you dare, Jay Berg. I don't want to hear it's made from like small children or kittens or something. What's Tiffany saying? I used to attend bar at a place where we could soak pineapples in really expensive vodka for about a week. We strained the juice, called it a VIP, vodka infused pineapple, and it was honestly so good. I would imagine, yeah. Yeah, good vanilla is very expensive. I mean, this is, again, it's a Costco size thing. It's ridiculous, the quantity of vanilla this is. Online in Canada, $17.99. That's not bad, though. That's not bad. But once this happened, I decided not to make my own vanilla. I was like, okay, forget it. For $35 maybe, but whereas the coffee extract, I'm looking forward to, because when I make this, the mug cake, making cookies, any kind of chocolate dessert I make, I would love to be able to add just a little bit of coffee, because like I said, it heightens the chocolate flavor. You could also add a coffee flavor, but sometimes you don't want coffee taking over. We'll see. It may be disgusting. I'm going to find out, because the quantity is hard to figure out. And how long do you let it steep? Some people said a week, other people said a month. I'm like, oh, but it's good. It's my good coffee that I like. I buy Peet's coffee, and it was the new one I just bought. So at least it's fresh. Like when I opened it, it had that brownies. It had that fresh, wonderful smell. So at least that's what I've got in there. So we'll see. Very excited. So you get me talking about food and I go past my time. It's already 8:00. All right, guys, you had me talking about food. You're totally evil. I am gonna probably sign off here since it's getting late. Thank you for joining us. You just let it sit. You just put it in there. The recipe, basically, from everything I found online, the recipe for coffee extract is 2 parts vodka to 1 part coffee grounds. It said coffee, the coffee, what do you call them? Spacing out the kernels, the seeds, whatever you call the coffee pods, and you break them apart. But that struck me as stupid. I saw other recipes said go ahead and use the ground coffee. So get a very good fresh ground coffee and use 2 parts vodka to 1 part coffee. So I wouldn't make a crazy amount. I would consider half a cup vodka to a 1/4 cup coffee, maybe. I added a little bit more. So this is 3/4 cup vodka to a 1/4 cup coffee plus half, and 1/4 cup is 4 tablespoons. So that's 6 tablespoons. So 6 tablespoons and 3/4 cup is perfect. So, but let's see if it's any good. I have no idea if it's going to work, but it said a month. A month is what the recipe I was finding. There was another recipe that said a week. Bourbon, I read about doing it. I'm not a bourbon fan, but other people recommended doing the coffee and bourbon as well. I'm not a bourbon guy, but like I'd consider it for rum, right? The only thing is, like I said, some of the folks said a week, others said a month. If it doesn't steep enough, it's not good enough. If it steeps too much, it might not be good. Who the hell knows? I mean, I just would like something that's a nice extract that, again, I can use a teaspoon in my cooking or whatever and have it be strong enough to. Some people even say they use it to reconstitute coffee, that they actually make a coffee out of it. Of course, the problem is you're making a coffee that includes 2 tablespoons of vodka, which is, which is a bit more than I would want. I mean, it's not too much vodka, but 2 tablespoons of vodka is still, I think that's a shot. Hey, Google, How much liquid is in a shot? Hey, Google, how much alcohol is in one shot?
1.5 ounces. On the website
Oh.
home.binwise.com, they say the standard shot of alcohol is 1.5 ounces. The U.S. government.
Hey, Google, how many ounces to a tablespoon?
1 tablespoon is 0.5 fluid ounces.
Oh, so 3 tablespoons would be 1 shot. Yeah. So it depends how much you need to make your coffee, but a tablespoon is a third of a shot. Okay. It's not nothing. It said 1.5 ounces is what it said. Google claimed for a shot, whereas a tablespoon is half an ounce. Yeah, centiliters, I can't tell you, but that's what Google was just saying. So yeah, I still have to watch the new Trek. No, it's on my list. It's on my list. I need to write the recipe down for the mug cake as well for you guys. I know. I mean, you can watch the video and just write it down because it's very simple to go through. I mean, I'll tell you right now. You ready to write it down? Get something to write it down and I'll tell you the mug cake recipe right now. It's super simple. All right. Olga, I'm waiting for you to say yes. All right. So here we go. The mug cake recipe. 3 table, and I've got to do this in American units, but thank you, that Ohio somebody for that. Oh, that Ohio that Ohioan girl. Okay, got it. 2 tablespoons flour. Excuse me. Stop. 3 tablespoons flour. Okay. 3 tablespoons flour. 2 tablespoons sugar. I'm going to pull it up so I don't screw it up. I know I'm not screwing it up, but nonetheless, I will read it. So I like when I'm nervous and talking to you, I'll like give you the wrong recipe. Mug brownie. So yeah, 3 tablespoons flour. We use all-purpose flour here. You could use self-rising, but then I wouldn't add anything else to rise. 2 tablespoons sugar. 1.5 tablespoons unsweetened cocoa. So like I told you, the baking cocoa that doesn't have sugar, 1.5 tablespoons. 3 pinches of salt because it needed some salt. And when I did 1 pinch, it wasn't enough. I literally go pinch, 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 and it works. 3 pinches of salt. I add 1/4 tablespoon of baking powder just to try to give it a little bit of a rise. If you use self-rising flour, I would not add that. 1/4 teaspoon baking powder. If you want to, you can add you can add chocolate chips if you want. This thing says 2 tablespoons. That's a lot, but you figure out. I mean, a tablespoon of chocolate chips would be great. 2 tablespoons wasn't too much, but it's a lot. I liked it. You can or can't add chocolate chips. It's up to you. Then you mix it well with a fork or something, but you've got to mix it well because when you're doing it in a mug, a coffee mug, you'll be surprised. You'll start to turn the mug and you'll see that there's flour that hasn't mixed. And when you're mixing it in a mug, the flour is dying to escape. So mix that well. You guys can sign off, don't worry. Then add 3 tablespoons of milk, 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, and mix it together. And if you want, you can add some oil. I'm telling you, this recipe included 1.5 tablespoons of oil, which is insane. I used a teaspoon, and then when I forgot altogether, it still was good. This is for mug cake, for making cake in a mug. Then, depending on your microwave and depending on the bowl you use, I find 30 seconds is a pretty good time because you want it somewhat cooked and somewhat wet, like a volcano cake, like a moelleux or a fondant. You want it to be somewhat wet because there's nothing in here that's dangerous. You know what I mean? It's dry cocoa, water, and milk. It doesn't have to cook, so to speak, but you'll find 1/4 teaspoon baking powder if you have regular flour that isn't self-rising. But that's what I do. And then I cook it for half a minute. Once you make it, you'll see whether the half a minute is too much or meaning when you eat it. If it's cooked too much, okay, 1 second, Sasha. If it's cooked too much, it's going to be cake. If it's not cooked enough, it'll be too runny. But if it's too runny, frankly, with vanilla ice cream, it's very good if it's runny. So try it and see. But I also usually let it sit for maybe 2 or 3 minutes once it comes out of the microwave. And the other thing, I'm going to sign off after this. The other thing you will find is if you use different mugs, it cooks differently. It's crazy. One of my mugs. All right, I'll tell you the recipe one more time, guys, and then I'm going to sign off because it's getting late. All right. So the recipe for the mug cake is 3 tablespoons flour, regular flour. If you use self-rising flour, then don't add any baking powder later on. 2 tablespoons sugar. 1.5 tablespoons unsweetened cocoa powder. So it's cocoa for baking without sugar, 1.5 tablespoons. 3 pinches of salt. If you used regular flour that isn't self-rising, I would add a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. Okay. I should try to pin the video. Then, optional, add a tablespoon or 2 of chocolate chips. Optional, it's up to you. Mix it together very well it's dried. Mix it together very well, and you will see as you tip the mug back and forth, you'll see how much flour is still not mixed. You want to mix it very well. And be careful because it will explode in your face. That's good. Syndicate's writing it on the screen for you guys here, at least here, and I will send it. I will post it for the folks there. Once it's mixed together well, add 3 tablespoons of milk. And then I put just a splash of vanilla extract. I wrote it down as a 1/4 teaspoon, but I literally go splash, and that's it. Oh, and I didn't write down, I would also add a hint of cinnamon. I forgot to put that here. I don't know how much that would be, but you don't want to go crazy on cinnamon. It's such a small container, a hint. I don't know. It could be 1/8 of a teaspoon, even a 1/16. You just want a small bit of cinnamon, I think. And then you mix that. It doesn't take long to mix it, 15 seconds to mix it. So and again, make sure there's no dry stuff on the bottom. And then put it in the microwave for 30 seconds. I say 30 seconds in a 1200 watt microwave. Afterwards, let it cool 2-3 minutes. You could eat it like that. I prefer it. It might be a little less sweet. I prefer it with ice cream. Normally, the recipe has 3 tablespoons sugar, which is insane. I put less sugar, and with the ice cream, it's perfect. So there you go. Oh, sorry. Syndicate had the rest of the recipe. That's the first part. And then the second part, there you go. There you go. All right, I'm going to sign off, guys, because it's getting really late and my dog is getting pissed. She knows I'm supposed to brush her teeth with her peanut butter tasting stuff and get her special greenie treat that makes her run around the house. I can post the video. The thing is, I've got some other videos posted right now, so I want to see about. I don't want to totally miss them because, like, the problem is our next live I'm going to post as well, so it's hard to. Oops. It's hard to post it. All right, guys, I'm signing off. Bye. All right. You all too. Syndicate, thanks for putting that up there. And I will see you guys tomorrow, 6 o'clock. I will set those things up right now, so you should see them on TikTok. Remember, on TikTok, you can always see when the next live is by going to my profile. It always tells you when the next live is, and it gives you the time in your time zone, and you can register as well for it. Okay, guys, good to see everybody. Bye. God, that was long.